Well, how
Oh,
come? Okay.
and we're back in the room.
We're back in the room. Okay. And you've got something about nuts, Mr.
I
West.
do, because on the last podcast, in fact, in two recent previous podcasts, you've mentioned how you liked the Marmite
Oh,
cashews.
right. Yeah.
So while I was in the UK, I bought a packet of Marmite cashews.
Did you
Here
now?
we go. Look,
Right.
I'm just holding it up
So
to the camera.
have you, have you exported them? Not only did you buy them, you exported them to the States.
Right, and I thought it would be a good thing, just because I thought they sounded terrible, that I would
Right.
try them
Live.
on air, as it were.
You've not tried them yet.
No,
Oh,
of
right.
course not.
You didn't buy two
Always thinking
packets.
of the pod. You always have to
Right.
think of the pod.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so here we go. So this is Marmite, which, if any
Already got-
Americans are listening,
If I start dribbling, you'll know why.
all
It's
right.
like, oh, nice.
Marmite is a yeast extract. In fact, it's so unique that only really I wouldn't really know how to explain it to an American. Apart from it's like a very salty, savoury taste.
Apparently, it's a byproduct from the beer distilleries.
Okay, well that makes it sound almost tempting. All right, so I am going to let's open these up. I like cashew nuts.
Yeah.
You know what? I am so about Marmite. I don't sit in the love it or hate it camp.
I remember you cashew nuts because you generally used to, when we used to go for a curry in England,
Yes.
you used to get a curry that quite often had cashew nuts in it.
Yeah, I think that was chicken cashmere. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Here we
Drum
go.
roll.
Holding it up to
roll.
the camera for those
Okay.
on the YouTube. Popping one in. Initially, not a huge Marmite flavour right off the bat,
right?
Which is good.
Yeah.
My God, it is a subtle Marmite, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think like how some things, like when you start to eat a lot, the kind of flavour builds up a bit.
Yeah. But then you get the amazing thing. There's the thing about the Marmite. It's the same with Twiglets, which is the same product essentially. What you get after if you do like I do as an ADHD, you binge eat them, right? And within a nanosecond, you're right at the bottom. And not only do you get to collect the crumbs and the residue at the bottom, you then get to lick your fingers with the yeast extract. That's yeah.
Wow.
I'm salivating.
On that bombshell. Welcome to ADHDville.
Flintstones in a modern Stone Age family from the town of Bedrock. They're a page right out of history. Let's ride family down the street through the courtesy of Fred's 2 feet. Yeah, random. Hello, I'm Paul Thompson, and I was diagnosed with the wow, this is hard. I was diagnosed with the neurological naming disaster that is ADHD just 3 months ago.
And I'm Martin West, and I was diagnosed in 2013.
Okay. So we're just two mates. So we're just two mates who, by coincidence or not, after 39 years of friendship, discovered that we're co-ADHDers. Hurrah. Now, it's really important to say that this is an entertainment podcast about adult ADHD. It does not substitute for individualized advice from qualified health professionals. No. So don't take any advice from us, especially Martin. We're
Yep.
just here as a kind of all-inclusive ADHD park bench with room for everyone, including your doppelgangers, your alter egos, your body doubles, your chaperones, and even your best buddies. Okay, still here, great. Then
Chaperones.
grab your jetpacks, your pedalos, your space hoppers, or any other transportation methods. And let us take you to ADHDville, an imaginary town that we've created in our minds,
In our
where we like to
minds.
explore different parts of ADHD. Okay.
And we start off. Oh, was that you done? Oh yeah, there we go. And we start
Yeah,
off as always at the town hall in the mayor's office, where we, the joint mayors of ADHDville, take care of business. All right, so looking at the agenda, there's only one item on our agenda. This is a specialist subject episode,
yes,
and we're going to be talking about all things ADHD masking.
yes, yes. We are.
So,
We are. We're talking exactly about that. It's quite a lot to unpack, as they
yeah,
say.
there is,
Popular
there
way
is.
of sounds like YouTube podcast kind of chat language. Let's
Yeah,
unpack unmasking. No, let's
yeah.
unpack masking.
Let's unmask masking.
Let's unpack the mask.
Yeah.
What is ADHD?
So where shall we go and do that today?
Well, I think we're
Coolio?
going downtown, aren't we, Mr.
We
West?
are, because we haven't been downtown for a while,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
kind of thought that downtown, especially in an American sense, kind of has a sense of like of shadiness sometimes. So it's kind of like you have to be a little bit
It's like
more on your
Slim
guard.
Shady.
Yeah, it's not uptown.
Right, yeah.
It's downtown. All right. Well, let's jump
I always
in the
get
mayor's
confused between
car.
uptown and downtown. What? Yeah, I get confused. Which one is the the posh part? Which one's the less posh? I don't
Uptown.
know. Uptown,
Uptown
okay.
top
Like
ranking.
Billy Joel.
Yeah.
Billy Joel, uptown girl. Right.
Girl.
She's been living in a downtown world. Da, 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 da,
Yes, you
da,
see.
da,
That's
da,
how
da.
you know.
Right.
If you
She
don't
was
know.
posh. He wasn't. He was just a
Yeah.
mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
So you have to be a little bit more
Yep.
on your guard. Arguably not downtown. So let's jump in the mayor's car and let's head downtown.
Nice.
There we go. I know, right? All right, so we're talking about masking.
It sounded a little bit Hammondy. I love a Hammond organ.
Yeah, there's like a organ.
Yeah.
In there.
Oh, the Hammond organ. Up there in my top 10 of list of favorite instruments.
Classic album, classic organs of all time. Hammond.
Yeah. It's basically because it's a valve thing, isn't it? Hammond is basically a valve instrument.
You know what? I should know. I'm not entirely. You know what? I will have to go and look.
Okay.
I've never actually.
Not now though. We've got a podcast.
Yeah, crack on.
Yeah, it's actually quite a lot. I know I've said this a lot. It's quite a lot to unpack about masking, I think. Right. We were talking about earlier about a definition of a masking. If you've got something, haven't you, on this?
I've
Martin?
got. All right. So we like to kind of kick off with just describing what it is that we're talking about. Masking is when a person with ADHD, also with autism as well, acts in a sociably acceptable way to fit in with those around them. This typically involves camouflaging symptoms, controlling impulses, rehearsing responses, and copying the behaviors of the neurotypical people around them. It's almost a survival tool.
Yep.
And that's
okay. Bang on.
And that's the kind of
bang on. I'd say that's right. Yeah. It resonated.
All right, goodo. It gets the pull tick.
Gets the pull tick. talking of ticks, no, actually not talking of ticks at all. Apparently, 1 in 3 ADHDers have masking issues, as said by our friend Dr. Edward M. Hallowell, which is he's an amazing, greatest experts on ADHD. 1 in 3? I would have thought it'd be 3 in 3.
Well, I would have thought so too. So I'm not quite sure
Right.
what criteria he would
Wow.
use for what
Yeah.
masking is and isn't. So I think there must be degrees, right? A little masking, a lot masking. So I don't know where he puts his line
Yeah.
for what he constitutes as
Where he draws a
masking.
land in, where he
Yeah,
draws a line in the sand with his,
yeah.
yeah, on a beach somewhere in the Caribbean. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I wish.
But I mean, my list, we'll get onto it a bit later, but my list of like masking signs is like infinite in theory. Well, mine's not infinite because we haven't got that much time, but there's a lot, potentially a hell of a lot of masking signs out there,
Yeah,
and we're
I
all
mean,
pretty much unique, right?
I jotted down what 12, 13 easily.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, we should run through some though.
Yeah.
What are the
No, no, totally.
signs?
Totally.
Yeah,
I've got, before we do that though, I've got this thing here. Like, let's pretend there's someone neurotypical watching this podcast. They won't, but let's say they
there
will,
won't be.
right? Right. You can say, well, everyone masks, right? You and I have had this discussion. It's like everyone bloody masks. You know, you might mask everyone neurotypicals. They might mask because they got gender dysphoria. They might mask because of their sexual preferences. They might have dermatology issues. They might mask because they have their ethnic diversity thing going on, and they're just trying to conform and everything. Um, I personally think there's some diversities that haven't even been discovered yet that are just going to splinter off. And at some point, we start thinking, what does even neurotypical mean? You know, it's like it was just a case. I think it's a lot of the cases about discovery of what neurotypical and divergent actually where the boundaries lie.
Right.
Then probably the
Then
biggest one I'd put in this list of what reasons why people who were neurotypical, why they would mask, low self-esteem. Boom. You know, you know, we could spend an hour just listing all the ways neurotypicals mask because of low self-esteem, right?
yeah,
But
I
right,
would also argue that low self esteem can also results from masking.
yeah,
So it can
is the
lead
cause and
to masking,
yeah,
and actually it also is
exactly
yeah, can be a
a symptom,
offshoot a yeah,
cause and symptom.
yeah,
Yeah. So, but anyway, we're talking about. I just thought I'd mention that because, like, people's like, well, you know, it's not just neurodiverse people. But so, what is the difference? What is the difference? Um, I've put here the difference is that a neurodiverse person could have any of those things we just mentioned. Okay, but not just of those issues that they could have. They also have to. They grow up develop as human beings in a cultural system that isn't set up for us, right? Even more reasons to mask, mask the masking, if you will, work practices that built around are built around us. Um, Psychology practices that aren't always in our favor, you know,
right,
sometimes just through pure ignorance, other times for have other reasons, or purely because they're just not maybe they haven't got their finger on the pulse of what ADHD is about. It's not a given, shall we say, that psychologists are knowledgeable about neurodiversity, um, and but also put into context the fact that just going back because we're diagnosed older in later in life. psychology in the 1970s and 80s. You just forget it. You know, imagine we were
Yeah.
trying to like make our way. We were like in our formative years, and it's
Right.
like on some level thinking that we're different and weird, or something. What's going
Mm-hmm.
on in there? Then knowing subconsciously you weren't like everyone else, not getting any help from anyone. Um, and then even bureaucratic and administrative systems, they're not set up for us. There's all these like hurdles and obstacles on top of all the other reasons that we might mask
Mm-hmm.
and probably do
Yep.
mask. Okay.
So what you're
So
saying
so what? No,
is,
I'm just like put a context. I'll
yeah,
put
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
context.
yeah. So what you're saying is that the difference in masking from a neurotypical to a neurodivergent person is that for a neurotypical person, what you're saying is
Mhm.
that the world is set up for you, and even though
Yeah,
you may mask in it, for your boss or whatever, it takes
yeah.
a lot less energy to be in a
There you go.
world that
Yeah,
actually works in the ways that you work
yeah,
versus a
yeah.
neurodiverse person who
Hmm.
has to mask a hell of a lot more
Yeah,
to fit in with a world that really doesn't
yeah,
work the way that they work.
yeah. I guess it's like we kind of have layers of more layers of masking as
It's
a
just more
consequence.
energy, right? Yes, there's more
Oh
masking,
man,
which requires more emotional and physical
yeah,
energy, which
yeah.
uh, causes burnout,
Exhaustion.
exhaustion.
Yeah,
And and I'm sure we'll come on to all the other kind of
yeah. We'll
other
come to that. The
things,
yeah,
but
the
yeah.
outcomes.
All right,
Yeah,
so that's why it's different, right, for
yeah,
neurotypicals versus neurodivergents.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, as I said at the top, that maybe people that were neurotypical watching or listening to this podcast, but it could also be people that have just started their journey too.
Mm.
So,
Oh,
okay.
absolutely.
Shall we move on to some typical masking signs then? Ooh,
Go off for it.
yeah. Shall I
That's like
do? I've got
go
some
for
stuff
it.
here. Some more. I mean, I should remind people this is an entertainment podcast, and and I say that because a lot of this stuff can be really personal, right?
Hmm.
It can be really personal. I've got one here. I mean, there's an obvious one at the top of the list: alcohol and drug use. Okay, can be used as a masking sign. Paradoxically, though, it can also be used as it can also be a symptom of masking, not just a sign of. So it's
All right.
quite
Yes.
unusual one of that. But I've got humor.
Yep.
I think it's probably the one of the most powerful masking tools I used as growing up as a kid was humor. I used humor to avoid getting into fights, basically, avoid being bullied. Um,
Yeah.
and it generally worked. I've got pretty good at it.
Yeah. No. As a humor as a defense uh, mechanism in
Yeah.
schools. Yeah. No. That was huge, and especially self-deprecating humor as well,
Oh yeah.
because if
Yeah, that's
you can
true.
make a joke about yourself
Yeah.
first, then others can't.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, English humor is particularly renowned for having self-deprecating humor.
Right. We must all be riddled, all
Riddled.
of us.
He's so
Riddled.
fucking up. But Robin Williams' famous stories, countless other famous comedians. It's funny, funny, funny until it's not. You know,
Right. It's the sad clown, right?
yeah. But
That's the trope.
apparently, Williams used to have people go up to him and like interrupt him. He's like walking around a shopping mall or something. People go up to him and say, "Make me laugh," literally. Not hello, my name is Paul. It's really great to be. Okay, make me laugh. And you say,
Blimey.
what? So no, really, I'm not in a mood. And they would
Fuck
like,
off.
fuck you, and walk
I
off.
know. Yeah, that's
Man.
yeah. All right.
Anyway, so then I've
So what else
got
we
on
got?
the list, I've got poor friend and life partner choices. Sometimes simply because, you maybe develop a group of friends just because they're more extroverted than you. But it can be a form of, I think, form of masking. Also, choosing a partner was particularly demonstrative, and it's like, so you could, kind of convenient part of person to sit in the shadow of, very convenient.
Yeah, no, I can see, you know, if you're trying to fit in with society, if you choose a partner that clearly knows the rules and fits in with society, and then
Yeah,
you can kind of just uh, you can just sort of glom onto that person so that
yeah,
you're
yeah,
so that you can then fit in
yeah,
society as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's like putting sandbags around you,
right. It's like
Yeah,
it's like hiding in plain sight.
yeah, exactly. Or, I mean, on the trickier side of that, you develop relationships with narcissists. If you want to be masked, if you want your personality masked, choose a narcissist. There you go. That'll do
Oh,
it.
blimey.
You know,
Yeah.
they
Is that
they
in
want
our?
you to mask. They actually have, I think, some kind of instinct, like nasty instinct. They want you to mask as much as you can.
Hmm. Yeah.
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 They want you
Boy,
to
that
become
sounds
the
like a
person they don't want to be, basically, narcissists. That's what they fucking want.
what a
And they're
horrible
good at it.
relationship.
They're really good at
Horrible
it very
relationship.
often, you know? I'm not going to
ADHD,
congratulate, I'm
autistic.
not going to give them a medal, but,
Ugh.
you know, I've been in that. I've been in situations like that. I've found myself in a narcissistic relationship thinking, there you go, Paul, you know, that's what, is this what you want? Is this what you wanted? Okay, there you go.
Oh
You got
God.
it, you know?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I've managed to
So then
avoid them.
yeah, yeah. Then I've got stimming,
Yep.
pretty standard one, but I
Well,
think everyone stims in very different ways.
this is so masking is the suppression of stimming, right? So it would be where you would be stimming and you're masking it. So what you do, so it would be
Oh,
like you like sit on your hands for
yes,
example, so that you stop your hands
yeah,
wandering around. Um,
right.
that that's so if you're unmasked, you stim freely. If you mask,
Oh,
because it looks
really?
weird, right?
Oh, okay. I thought it was the
So
opposite.
so
Okay.
so it's the physical suppression of that to like stop, and that kind of comes from your parents kind of going stop fidgeting.
Okay. Yeah,
And you
yeah,
and in the workplace, right, if you work
yeah.
in an office or something with other people, you're
All
like
right.
you're having to suppress your
Oh,
natural
right.
s-
Well,
stimmy urges.
yeah. So I thought it's the opposite. I'm not saying you're wrong at all. I think
tell
you're
me tell
probably
me
absolutely
tell
right.
me how you
I see it.
see it.
I see
For
it
sure.
that actually stimming is a kind of a way of suppressing, therefore masking something that could potentially be a much more violent physical reaction.
Oh, all right. So
I think stimming is suppressing, so therefore masking in itself.
stimming is the is a way of self regulating yourself and calming your mind, right?
Hmm.
From the anxieties that you're
Right.
feeling, right? So it's a
Yeah.
way to control that, um, and that is a coping mechanism, I guess.
Mm.
And then I, I guess, yeah. So I get that part, and I guess where I kind of go from there is like, well, the masking part is the how do we fit into a normal world, that would be to
Yeah.
suppress the stim,
Mhm.
which
Right.
to your point is like, well, then you're having to put even more effort into trying to control the anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, so if you suppress the thing that
Mm.
that gives you relief, if you like,
Mm.
the self-regulating thing, then
Mhm.
that anxiety doesn't go away. It just
Right.
builds. It's
Yeah.
a, you would end up having to like
Mm.
deal with that anxiety it will come out in a different way, and
Right.
I think that's where you end up
Mhm.
with burnout and the exhaustion and depression and anxiety, and it'll just kind of
Yeah. Well, because some people, some people in the ADHD community, they really have a very strong physical. They demonstrate their neurodiversity in a very physical way.
hmm
Um, I know someone personally that is incredibly fidgety. In my mind, but it's quite possible I'm overthinking it. But in my mind, it's like you go to a fireworks bonfire night and you have the twizzle thing that goes.
oh yeah, the
That's
little
basically
sparklers.
yeah, that's like the sparklers, right? That's just before it turns into like a massive firework. It's like the stimming is a little sparkler, but actually what it's
Right,
doing is it's suppressing like a massive firework that goes off and yeah.
right.
Yeah, okay. But I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, okay. Yours sounds more logical, if I'm honest. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Next to the list, moving on, I've got tattoos. Oh,
All right.
yeah.
Okay. Cool. I haven't come across that one, so I am
Classic
all ears.
masking, isn't it? It's like a clown covers their face in makeup. Clown is classic masker. No, it's like we were talking about before about the sadness of a clown. It's
Yeah,
like yeah. Well, I mean, I'm covered in tattoos,
yeah. You've got a whole
and
bunch. I don't even
I've
have
got
so much as a full stop.
right. I've got about 25 or 26 tattoos by now. Um, it's it. I mean, I don't know. It's like distraction. It's a bit like wearing I don't know. Or maybe it's the opposite of masking? It's like, hey, look at me.
Well,
Maybe it's the
I
opposite.
mean, you can argue that it's like, well, if they're visible tattoos,
Mm,
then it's like, right, well, I belong to a certain group of people.
mm.
Um, I,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
you know what? I don't know.
well,
I really don't know.
I come from a place where I grew up and I had a lot of shame around my physical um, attributes. Okay, I
hmm
didn't wear short sleeve shirts until I was in my late 20s because I just hated my what I interpreted perceived as being very thin arms, and I never wore short sleeves. So I think for me personally, tattoos. Uh, no, it's the opposite. I'm talking my way round, and actually say it's the opposite of masking. Whereas I used to hide my arms, I actually now, say, look at my fucking arms covered in tattoos.
All
Yeah.
right.
Okay. So let's take that off the list, maybe.
Well,
So,
I would say I would say
right.
if anyone has a point of view about
Totally.
tattoos
Yeah.
and how it relates to masking, would love to hear that because
Yeah.
I'm not
Well, everyone's
I don't know
about
where
all
those
of
two
these too,
intersect.
alcohol or drug abuse. I sometimes find alcohol really brings my personality out sometimes.
Uh,
It depends how,
yes. Oh yeah,
I find
because we've
it
said
frees
this
me up.
before.
Dutch courage, as we call it in English, in England, English. Do you have that in the
Right.
States, Dutch courage?
I don't know actually. To be
Okay.
fair,
I was like, yeah, Dutch. We call it in England. We call it when you have a beer or two. You call it Dutch courage because it helps you to actually bring your personality out. So it's like weird. It's a paradox. It's somewhat of a
right? Yeah,
paradox.
because there is a complete opposite version of
Yeah,
that, which I know we've talked about
exactly.
before, which is people who have trouble and use alcohol to mask because if you're a little bit drunk, it's easier to fit in with everyone around you
Mm, right. Yeah.
because they're all drunk. They're all being,
Yeah.
they're all kind of like doing their thing and they're little drunky
Mm,
selves. And then you have a drink, and then it's easier for you.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
less effort, right? It's
Yeah.
easier for you to fit in, to
Yeah.
mask with in this group.
Mm.
Um,
Even to the
the
extent that some people they actually really scared at the idea of not going out either drugged or drunk. It
Yeah,
scares them. It's like, oh, I don't want people to see the real me. I'll
right,
be, I'll get drunk and be the life and soul of the party.
right. Where that might be different is if you went out and all your friends were neurodivergent and were much happier, you know,
Yeah,
being unmasked, and then
yeah,
if you had a drink, that kind of could give you a
yeah,
bit more courage to kind of unmask
yeah. Right.
yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
That would
there's
be a
a
party I'd go to. Definitely.
right, and maybe those are the parties that you go to.
Totally.
Maybe that
Yeah, yeah.
explains why, because if
Like
because there's a
neurodivergents
difference.
all meeting out and go, yeah, let's come out of our fucking shells. Come on,
Right. Whereas
let's do
if
this.
you're right, so that isn't really a
Yeah,
mask. Yeah, that's helping using alcohol to help you, just to give you a bit of Dutch courage to unmask in
yeah,
front of
yeah,
people
yeah,
you
yeah,
feel
yeah,
safe around.
yeah.
Whereas if it's your work party and your bosses are all there, it's like
Oh God.
fuck no,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh God, I've
fuck
got some
no.
stories. I've got some stories, but yeah, I've done some bad things on that front. But anyway,
All right,
specifically
alcohol
a work
tick.
party, right? I've got also people pleasing. Ooh, okay, not
Yes,
quite so debatable as the others.
no. I'm just eating these nuts.
Yeah, damn you.
Very nice.
Talk us through it, Martin. Have you got some aftertaste? You know, having how long have you had? How many have you had? Like four or five?
Yeah, I would say it's a very subtle Marmite taste.
It's not strong, is it? It's not too strong.
No,
All right.
I mean if you
Okay.
didn't like Marmite, you could still eat these. I reckon.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, people pleaser. I've got avoiding. Basically, from my personal point of view, people pleasing for me is avoiding confrontation. Essentially, it's like okay, and
Yes.
avoiding communicating. Actually, how you really feel and think.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep. Agree.
So yeah, I mean that's not particularly debatable. I think even it comes down to, but people maybe it's not debatable, but yeah, there's some nuances around it because people do sometimes in different ways. People just do a lot of nodding, just to like say okay, just like okay. I'm not agreeing with anything you're saying really in my head, but I'm just going to nod. So you'll just
Yeah.
keep going and you'll think I'm agreeing with you and
Yeah.
everyone's going to be okay, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I do that.
Absolutely.
I do that. But even the way we dress, people pleasing, I did that for a bit. If I look back at myself about how I used to dress, I think, what were you doing, Paul? I was people pleasing. It's like, I wasn't dressed how I would want to dress. If I look back at myself with horror of photographs of me, 30 years ago, with total horror. It's like a splatter movie.
Right. I
It's like you watch Exorcist. If you watch The Exorcist is like watching like Pride and Prejudice compared to Me
Okay.
looking at
So
photographs of the
what
way I
kind of
dress.
clothes are we talking about here? So what were you? What was your
Oh,
people pleasing
to
attire?
be honest, like things that I think that my boss would like me to wear, or my
All right.
dad would like me to wear.
So it's
A
kind of
bit kind of
smart,
comfortable.
casual labels.
No, worse than that. Middle
All
classed.
right. Wait, what? What?
Middle
Upper
classed.
class? Middle
Middle.
class?
Middle class. Yeah, God. Golf jumpers. Oh, God.
Golf jumpers.
Oh, my
All
God.
right. Okay. Yeah.
Can you
So
hear my
I need a
buttocks
picture.
clenching on the
I mean,
podcast? Can anyone hear? I'm not going to redirect my microphone. Just like, what's that sound? It's weird sound. Oh, it's Paul's buttocks are clenching. Yeah.
mm,
Oh God, there's some photographs of me. Just please. But I'm not sure it's that unusual. I think most of us. Well, I don't know.
I was definitely like that until I would say. Let me think about. I can remember like when my eldest would have just been born, or so yeah. There was a point where I just wore crazy stuff. Had this
Yeah, I
huge
remember.
multicolored coat, had these
Yeah, yeah.
crazy hats, and I was just like wear
Right,
whatever I wanted, just because I
right.
liked it.
But then, remember, we both went to the same art college together. I had all the excuses in the world to like you look around and think, okay, I could just wear what the hell I want
Yeah,
to wear. I
you
remember
could have
you
come
used to wear
out
odd. You used to wear odd color socks. You said, "Oh, I don't go by color. I go by texture."
thickness. Yeah, yeah. Okay, by
Oh no,
thickness.
thickness or texture. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, I had I bought a jumpsuit, a white jumpsuit that
Oh yes.
in I did screen printing in fluorescent colors all over it,
Hmm. Yeah.
and I got this like string teabag string vest thing that I just wear over
I
that.
remember that now.
And
Yeah.
it's just walk around in that. So I
Right.
mean, our college was a perfect place to kind of to
Yeah. And
break out of those.
I still didn't break out. Still didn't
No,
break out. In my
you were
little
fairly
cage.
normal
I
as
was in my little cage, doing my little things, doing
right.
little bits of art. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
You
Doing my thing.
you
Oh
you
God.
could have broken free.
I could have done. I feel a
Yeah.
song coming on.
I want to
Yeah.
break free.
Break free. That was banned in the United States. Did you know that? That video when it came out.
It was banned.
Yeah. Men in
I don't.
drag pushing a Hoover around the house.
Oh, was it? I
Yeah, it was banned in the States.
I don't remember ever seeing it.
Anyway, little fact about Freddie Mercury there.
And Queen.
Then I've got deflecting attention, and basically any way you could do that. So it's a bit different, a bit nuanced, if you like, a bit different from
Mm-hmm.
people pleasing. Deflecting attention, pretending that you're okay, projecting. I don't need anyone's help. And I don't need anyone's help, or as if to say, nothing to see here. Move along.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
I,
fine. Yeah, I'm good.
I'm fine. I'm
Yeah.
good.
Are you all right? Yeah, no, yep. I'm
Fine.
good.
And
You look
then
over there.
what's the problem with that? Is you get over years pass, and you think no one ever bloody asks me if I'm okay. Well, of course they don't. This is like you've
Right.
every little tiny little piece of you is being concentrated throughout your development into saying I don't need any help.
All right.
Move along.
So there you are,
And it gets
and
like, oh God, no one cares about me. No, of
some
course they
girl
don't.
comes along and goes, "Oh, Paul, are you okay?" You're like,
Oh.
"No,
Yeah,
no.
right. No,
Oh,
I'm
thank
not.
God you've come."
Yeah, yeah. You're like the savior, the second coming.
You're like, "Oh my God,
Well, the
it's one of
first
those
even.
people."
Yeah, yeah.
Oh crap! Let's get out of here.
So yeah,
Yeah, no, I
I've
mean,
got.
yeah, yeah.
I've also got avoiding fulfilling true potential.
Well, I also have the opposite of that,
Ooh,
which is both can be true. I'm just saying it isn't neither of them are right or wrong. It's just
yeah.
they're two paths of the
It's not.
same
It's
thing.
not one size fits all.
Right. Yeah. As so often with like ADHD and stuff like that, is that
Mm,
the complete opposite can also be equally and validly true. All
yeah.
right. So you talk about your underachieving, and I'll talk about
Well, I mean, a simple
overachieving.
one. I was like, we talked about this in another podcast. I was a runner. Um, I was a runner. I don't mean the sense of doing burglaries and doing a runner. I
All
mean
right.
sense of actually, school activities. Sport. I
Right.
ran a lot,
Okay.
and but I always came second. I was scared of becoming first. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was scared of becoming. I never came first. I always came second. Like masking was essentially me say, okay, okay, I know I'm good, but I don't want to get so good that like I put myself, above the
In the
parapet
spotlight. So
in the
you're
spot.
running along and you're in the
Yeah,
lead and you go, "Oh crap, let me just slow back a
sabotaging,
bit. Slow back
sabotaging
a bit."
myself, like kicking myself in the shin,
Right. So you're just waiting, you're just
sabotaging
running a
myself.
little bit slower until someone just
Yeah,
passes you and then you're like, "Oh, let me just pick up the speed a bit."
yeah. Occasionally pick up a rock for just to slow me down. Picking up ballast along the way,
Right. Yeah, of course, because
loading up
that's
my socks with ballast.
right.
Yeah, and I think I
Putting
can almost
stones in
picture
your socks.
my
Right.
teachers they'd always give me like top. I always got top marks in physical education. They always used to look at me like, Paul, you came second again.
And you're
Yeah,
like,
I know.
"Yes,
I
that's
know.
exactly where I
That's
wanted to
exactly
be.
what I was
That's a
trying to
win
do.
for
That's for
me.
me. That's a winner.
That's my first place, not your first
Yeah,
place. My
yeah,
first place."
yeah. It's not like you get to decide who wins. If you want to use this like old school way of like
Yeah,
measuring
boring
success.
rules. Ugh, you
Rules.
disgust me, teacher.
Yeah. I came second, but look at my socks. They're full of ballast.
Full of pebbles.
Full of pebbles. And I'm
Just
not going to
pull
talk about my pants.
chunking up along with like
Yeah.
with your
Making weird
pants and your
noises,
socks just
clunking
full
along.
of yeah, with pebbles flying everywhere.
Yeah.
You
So
came second,
there's
Paul. Yeah.
that. Yeah.
All right.
That's my list.
Oh, sorry. Yes, yes. I'm supposed to be
No,
doing
I mean, as it says, I've finished. You said you had like a lot.
right. Right. So the opposite of that for masking is I mean like to is that you compensate through overachieving and your relentless drive to excel. So
Mm.
that would be
Oh, yeah.
right. Here I am in this neurotypical world. They value success and achievement,
Right.
so I can mask,
A
because
facade.
ADHD people tend to, have they might have a little special skill or be kind of quite good in one area.
Mm.
Just use that to kind of to kind of be and to achieve,
Mm.
and that way you are seen as a successful person in a neurotypical
Mhm.
world.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
like so you'll drive
Ooh.
for that.
Isn't that a bit like becoming famous as well?
Yeah.
Famously, it's quite common. People become famous and they completely lose a sense of who they are,
Hmm.
you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a whole different job. Being famous is a different job to the job that made you famous.
Yeah. I
Um,
watched an interview recently with the guy from Breaking Bad. What's his name? Mike from Breaking Bad, the fixer.
I
Amazing
haven't
ad. This
seen it.
interview with him. And have you not? Okay. There's people come up to him and in Breaking Bad, I think they finished. shooting Breaking Bad, when 6, 7 years ago now, people still go up to him and say, "Oh, Mike, how you doing?" And he's just like, "What?" And
Oh
often I
yeah,
think they just play along with it. But yeah, but you understand how people, especially if they're younger, it's like okay, you've lose sense of who you are, but maybe that's what they sought to do, as you were saying, the same
yeah.
way a
Well,
sports might do it.
like the interesting thing, right, is because we're both in the creative industry. Is there are so many neurodiverse people in the in that industry.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is the trope of the kind of the the more successful you are, the more weird you are. So
Mm,
if you can imagine going into an ad agency, so and
mm,
you see their top creative director, and he's just like his hair's all over the place. He's like he's this mad
mm.
scientist kind of guy
Yeah,
with
yeah.
running around but always nervous energy and stimming left, right, and center. You go,
Mm.
well, he must be good. He must be good because he's just this kind of
Oh, right, I
weird
got you.
guy.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's the Back to the Future
He's so good,
doc.
he doesn't care anymore.
Well, yeah,
He
well,
doesn't care. It says he doesn't care what people think of him anymore.
yeah. I think more importantly that it's so good that 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 society doesn't care anymore. That
Mhm,
that
mhm.
neurotypical people will make space
Mm.
for a,
Yeah,
someone
right,
who's really
specifically in our
unmasked
community.
and
Yeah,
weird,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because they are so good. And in fact, you almost expect it, right? So if you're a
Mm,
famous film director or an artist or a creative or a writer, it's almost like the more famous you are, society
mm,
expects you to be weird. The
yeah,
better you are, the weirder
mm.
they they
Yeah, I
expect
guess
you
you're in
to
a
be.
safe zone, aren't you? You're in a safe zone, and you can do
Right.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because yes. And you can argue whether if you never masked in the first place and you just let your freak flag fly and you just did your
Mm,
thing and that
mm,
made you famous and everyone just accepted you as you
mm,
are, or
mm.
or you masked and you were good and then you, as to your point, like you that allowed you to kind of gradually come out of your
Yep.
little shell. And
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
but yeah, I almost think that in the creative field, like that almost becomes like a little beacon of hope or something.
Mm,
Is that the normal world will accept you if you're really good at something.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but even I personally, even still, despite going to art college, being an environment where you had all the invites you could possibly have, it's like, come on, Paul, you know, come and join
Right.
it. Come and join us. The water's really nice and warm. Come in, you know, stop dipping your toe, just like jump in with us, still. And then being in the creative industry, still didn't do it. Still masking a
Mm-hmm.
lot. I mean, a lot, really a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. At the workplace for sure. Like that's where you mask the most, right?
yeah, yeah. Okay. Have you got anything else on your list?
On my grist, I think we've kind of covered off some of these. So one would be struggling to share opinions. So if someone said, "So, what do you think, Paul?"
All
and then
right.
you're almost like taking
Um,
stock of the room and who you're speaking to and who
yeah,
your
yeah,
audience is, and then you kind of like
mm,
you just make your answer
yeah,
fit for
yeah,
that audience.
yeah.
I've also got perfectionism kind of comes out of
Mm-hmm.
is a masking thing, because
Mm-hmm.
if the neurotypical world sees that everything's great and put together,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
put
yeah.
together, your house is put together, like
The house, yeah, your home is perfect. It's spotlessly
right,
clean.
right.
Yeah,
So you're
pastiche.
one rehearsing conversations. So
Okay.
before you kind of go into a meeting, or you're going to talk to
Mm,
someone about something, you're almost just kind
mm,
of running that conversation through
yeah,
in your
I've
head,
done
so
that.
that oh yeah, I do it all the time, so that you can control that
Yeah.
conversation.
Have you heard of the Gregorian technique?
Monks, what is
So,
it?
yeah,
The
well, once
calendar,
I
the
I heard
Gregorian
about
calendar,
this.
what?
I once heard of this technique. I think it was I heard from Stephen Fry. He suggested it for public speaking or meetings, or whatever. So anyway, I was actually did something really bizarre. I was working at an agency. And I'd been there for 4 or 5 years, and I started rattling the cage a bit. Well, no more than that. I started burning bridges. I started to self destruct and self sabotage. Blah blah blah. And in the end, I had a meeting. I got down to the last two to become a creative director at a major agency. We got down to the last two, and I did the damn interview in my lunch hour. I jumped in a taxi,
Oh, I've done
and on
that.
the way there, you've done that. You've done that, have you?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
had an
right. So I
interview
jumped in.
during lunch. Yeah,
Right, mental. This is it's the other side of. I was in Old Street. Well, if you know London, Old Street is in a financial district, pretty much. And the interview was in Covent Garden, which is at least a 20-minute cab ride. In the
yeah. That's
meantime, practicing this thing that Stephen Fry suggested you do to avoid umming, going avoid going He said,
yeah.
practice what you want to say in Gregorian chant. So you go, this is all in the back of the taxi as he was driving me along. I was going, thank you for inviting me to this meeting.
That's like Monty
I'm
Python.
going to present some interesting projects, one of which is this one by, etc., etc. All the time getting these weird looks from the taxi driver.
Oh wow.
But it works.
Come on. I was going to say,
Gregorian chant
because you
technique.
have to stick to a cadence, right? You can't add. It's harder to
Exactly.
add ums in there, because you've got a very
Yeah.
strict um,
Yeah.
sequence of notes
But
and things to fit in.
so that's masking. Yeah, I guess it is because the way I talk is pretty well. You probably get the idea if you listen to any of our podcasts. I'm pretty. Um, I'm not very good at structuring what I say. So it comes often when I talk, it comes out of as a bit of a pick and mix. It's all over the
Right. Yeah,
place.
that's
Yeah.
fairly typical.
So when I
Um,
talk like this, it keeps me from. I get
right.
less likely to kind of get distracted in my mind, I suppose, as well.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, a
So
little technique there.
that's rehearsing conversations. Another one is mirroring the personality of those that you're with. So when
Oh
you're having
God.
when you're with someone, you kind of adopt
It's, yeah. It's one of
their
my favourite ones.
right. If they're
Yeah.
animated, you're animated. If they're quiet and
Yeah.
chill, you're quiet and chill.
Hmm.
If, um, what
I
else we
can
got?
actually develop quite scarily. I can develop how someone laughs and other manners. I've had several girlfriends who over time, I've picked up some of their mannerisms, even the way they laugh. Oh man.
Oh no, has he gone?
Oh shit.
Has he gone? Oh, he's gone, isn't he? He's gone.
He had a technical hitch. Oops. He had a technical hitch.
Okay. So
Are
yeah, we
you?
were talking about mirroring,
Yeah.
and
All right.
yeah,
So yes.
I used to take on girlfriends' mannerisms and the way they laughed and stuff like that. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's right. And then
yeah.
I was just going to say that we were talking about a good few episodes back was, like when someone has a Scottish accent and then you start doing a
Mm,
Scottish accent,
yeah, yeah.
whether that was a masking thing or not. And
Mm,
it was. So
yeah.
copying people's
Okay.
accents
Oh
again
right. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the same
is a
here. My son Tom he said, Dad, you've already developed an accent from the Brescia region. I said, no, really. He said, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I do. I pick up accents quite
yeah,
easily.
yeah.
Cadence, especially.
All
Okay.
right.
All right.
All right, so I think that's all I had. Also, I had like pretending to be calm. So you got like this kind of calm exterior, whereas inside it's all like a fucking mess. Like and we've said
Yeah.
that before. It's that swan thing, right? On the outside, you look
Yeah.
like you're just
Yeah.
gliding along, but underneath the
Oh, right.
surface, you're
Yeah.
paddling like a
Yeah.
nutter.
Yeah. Well, you know how many people I've known, even really good friends, have just assumed that I'm a really, really calm person. Oh, what? I mean, people
Right?
I've known for a lot of years. Oh, you're so calm. What?
Yeah.
What? No, this is Paul. This is Paul. It's
Yeah.
not. Who you mistaken me for someone, some other guy.
Right.
Yeah.
I might look calm and collected and self-assured, but underneath all that, it's
Yeah.
like
It's
fucking
pandemonium.
acting
It's Armageddon.
pandemonium. All right, so let's go on
Okay.
to that. So we've kind of covered off what masking is, and we've kind of got a whole bunch of examples about what what examples of masking are,
Mm.
and then now we're going to lead on to what other what's the cost, I
Outcomes.
guess. Yeah.
I've got outcomes.
All right.
How it can show up. You know what can happen as a consequence of
Yeah.
masking.
Issues,
Yeah.
problems.
Issues. All right. Do you want to start
Right. Well, as
on
we've
that one?
said before, because you're neurodivergent in a neurotypical world, it takes you a lot more mental and physical energy to work in
Mm.
a system that doesn't really work for you. So
Yeah.
you expend a lot of energy doing that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the more and that just leads to burnout,
Mm.
exhaustion.
Yeah.
Um,
But
also,
then shame from like feeling like, oh God, I'm lazy. So no, you're
right,
not, mate. No, you're not, mate. You're exhausted. Give
you're
yourself a
exhausted.
break.
Right. That
Yeah.
and I think we were talking about before. There's a feeling of you can get an isolation because as you said, a while back, you can feel like an alien that you're not
Yeah.
really in this world, right? It doesn't seem to be something that you're really a part of, so you
Yeah.
have to kind of try and fit in. So you have
Yeah.
that, you can get a sense of isolation
Mm. Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that can lead to the more you mask,
Mm.
the you you have more trouble finding a support because you don't even necessarily even know that you are
Yeah.
masking. So we're
Yeah.
talking about asking
Yeah.
for support or help,
Yeah.
um, because that's a
Yeah.
weakness, right? Because you're letting your guard down if you're going to go, I need help.
Yeah. But also, if you it's like you don't know what. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
You know, how
Yeah.
can you
And
help yourself if you don't know what it is, or
right. And we'll,
how can you help someone else help you if you don't know what it is?
yeah, for sure. Um,
Yeah.
and also masking leads to a delayed diagnosis,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So the more you mask, the harder it is for someone else even a professional to kind of work out what is going on, and that's
Mm.
especially true of females.
But that brings up an interesting subject because we often talk about the fact that we're diagnosed later in life. This may be a twofold thing here. Is that in theory, if you're like me, you were diagnosed when you were 56, and you've got loads of old habits, that you've been, you know, um, picked up over the past. Like your masking skills, are off the scale. Whether it becomes more difficult, or when you get to a certain age, you also realize that actually a lot of it is just based on absolute bullshit, which can
Well,
also
yeah,
lead into a crisis as well. It's like, oh my God, where are your foundations?
right.
But
Yeah,
in
no,
reality, it's like actually you can lose those habits because actually they were completely unfounded. They weren't based on anything except a lie that you've been telling yourself and other
right.
people.
Well, I would say that wasn't necessarily a lie. It's just a coping survival
Misunderstanding.
strategy
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that you need that you needed to do in order to not get
yeah.
picked on, or so
Mm.
it wasn't so
Well,
much
say
of
I'll
a
say a contract that you wrote to yourself that just wasn't real.
right. Right. It's just to your point. You can, if you're late diagnosed, you've spent so long honing those masking skills, right?
Right.
That you actually, if someone said, "Well, Paul, who are you?"
Mm.
you would struggle
Right.
to answer that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
whole identity thing that suddenly starts to
Yeah.
pop up when you
I've got
start
that.
asking those questions.
That's at the top of my list in terms of potential outcome from masking is identity. I've put here in really big capital letters. Paul, aged 46 years old. I had a breakdown like 10, 11 years ago. And I was basically now looking back, it's like I was bursting at the seams. Just like I was freaking out, and
Hmm.
and it started, and then it started the really big, simple question. The most challenging is like, Paul, who the fuck are you?
Right.
The most
Uh,
challenging, the most scary, but the
right.
most beautiful question as well. It's hard.
It is a hard ass journey
Blimey.
because because if you've spent decades masking and
Yeah, yeah,
becoming
yeah.
honing this kind of person, right?
Mm-hmm.
It means your entire world has you've built your entire world around that,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
if you dismantle yourself,
yeah,
everything else in your world is up for question. Like,
yeah,
should these people, are they my friends? Should they be my
yeah,
friends? Is this the
yeah.
right job?
Exactly.
Is this the right what?
Right.
You have to
I
renegotiate
yeah,
everything in
yeah,
your life.
yeah, and that's
The
really
more you
scary.
uncover.
That
Yeah.
was I remember I was in a really scary space when I did that, and it
Yeah,
felt
you're
like
saying.
I'd like press the reset button, that I didn't even know was there.
Hmm.
But apparently, it's there. I reset the button. And it's like, oh,
Yeah, no, I've
tumbleweed,
been there probably about
tumbleweed.
twice easily.
Going through
Yeah.
your brain.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
It's that right. I I I believe a wise man uh, looks forward to those moments,
yeah,
which
nice,
which is yeah,
right,
yeah. It's a
yeah.
weird thing to think about,
Oh my god! I think I've
but
mentioned it in the past, but I once during that period, I walked into a pharmacy to buy something, and there was this big full length mirror, and I it was to one side, and I glanced to my left, and I caught my reflection, and I did not know who the hell that was that I was looking at in a mirror, and that was scary. I was like like an amoeba, an empty vessel completely.
Right. You're
But
like,
it
who
was
the hell are
necessary.
you?
It's where I had to get to. It turns out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Blimey,
Um,
blimey.
yep. And then I had okay. So other things that masking leads to is anxiety, depression, low
Yeah.
self-esteem. We've talked about all of these things. So um, it's
Um.
okay.
Mhm.
So I would say that it's a good thing to look for. I think this kind of comes on to kind of what some of the stuff that you can do, right? So
Mhm. Yeah.
identifying what your masking is, and is it a cost?
Mm.
Yeah, I think of it as a cost
Mhm.
benefit thing. Like, so for example, unmasking yourself is generally a good thing, but in the
Mm.
professional work in environment, it may
Mm.
not necessarily be uh, something that
Yeah.
you should really attempt to do. Right, there is some,
Mm.
there are some masking things which um will work for you. So like if you happen to stim a lot and you're out
Yeah.
in certain places out in society, that
Yeah.
can actually cause you more problems
Mm. Yeah.
than than it's worth.
So
So
it's an element of embracing some of these things. It is part of you, and sometimes not always. Sometimes it just depends how you look at it. If you reflect on yourself and think about yourself from a caring and loving point of view, everything you can start really changing stuff like that. It's like if you maybe if you looked at yourself stimming in the past, and then you got diagnosed later in life, and then if you choose to, you could choose to look at that and think, actually, I kind of like that about me. You know,
right.
no one dies. It's okay. You know,
Hmm.
I used to get accused. It's like people used to say, because I stim sometimes in unusual ways, and people would say, "Paul, are you autistic?" Let's go back years,
Right.
and it's like, oh, you could be offended by it. I think, at the time. Now I think, yeah, what of it? you know,
Right.
so what?
Yeah.
That's okay. Your point is,
Right. Yeah. So I think,
yeah,
one is, as I was saying, I identify what your masks are, when they are,
mm,
and just
mm,
try and keep a tally of them, because
yeah,
this is this will take. It isn't something that you can do in 5 minutes. It
right,
will,
yeah.
months, years, right? Of
Well,
like, oh,
you
that's a
were
mask.
diagnosed 10 years ago. I've been unmasking. Well, I've been unmasking a bit since I had a breakdown 10 years ago, 11 years ago. But also, uh, I've got a name for it now. Since 3 months ago. But you've had this. You've given it a name for 10 years. So yeah, it takes time.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Also, be around people who are like you. So if you are
Yeah.
ADHD or autistic ADHD, chances are you have a bunch of
Mm,
friends who are also the same, and to actually
mm,
be with them um,
mm.
uh,
Well,
helps you
that's
feel
interesting
more
because
comfortable.
yeah. Have you
You
ever been in a
can,
position where it's been the opposite? Where you've been amongst people, you could tell that you were scaring them.
uh, yeah, well, yeah, because there'd be various places where I'd be in a room full of people. I'm not quite sure whether this isn't masking so much as like as as just saying something really weird or
Well, probably if you
inappropriate for
stop
the.
masking, you maybe unmask for a nanosecond,
Well,
and it's
yeah,
like people go, "Whoa, what the
yeah. What the
hell?"
hell is that weirdo saying?
Right? Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
again, it's like pick. Yeah, you have to
Pick your
pick
battles.
your battles. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But but when you are around your friends who are, it means that you can feel more comfortable with who you are and start to let go a little bit more
Yeah.
with people who are, who are much
Mm.
more accepting of you, and you can kind of explore who the real you is more. And if you're Paul, you can have a shot or two, and that will help you along by the sounds of things.
A shot or two of what? A what? A
Of
shot of
alcohol.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But you've got a slight advantage. Where I live in Italy, ADHD, people have virtually no knowledge of it at the moment. So I feel a bit like a little bit like, oh, guys. I don't have a tribe here. I don't have an ADHD tribe here at all. Not in the slightest. It's not
Well,
on their radars it's not on their radar at all here.
hence why we have a podcast, right?
Podcast, exactly. Exactly. Oh no,
We have it,
it is really important for me, this
and
podcast.
why we're on TikTok, so that
Yeah.
there is a, so
Right.
talking about what you can do, if you're not on TikTok, there is a large community of ADHD people, autistic people. I mean, all kinds of mental issue groups on TikTok and communities
Yeah.
that you can just watch them, listen to their stories, and that's inspiring as well.
Yeah. I do really. I've come to. You were talking earlier, just before, Martin, about being amongst ADHDers. There's that tribal element of it. Um, and I've never, in my whole life, never felt part of any tribe. However much I've tried, I've never really felt part of a tribe until now. I really, really, genuinely take a lot of joy and pleasure from the TikTok ADHD community. There's some just fascinating people out there with like-minded kind of approaches to life, which I find a real joy to read and listen to.
Yeah,
It's really cool,
and
really
so
cool.
so finding your tribe, as it were, can help you find yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then the last two, I know that people like, people who do journal. I struggle with journaling personally, but one technique I come across time and time again is to like pick one, if there's a pick one or two masks, and just try and work on them, and then journal down every day how you're doing with that mask, so that you're actually just focusing on one or two
Yeah,
at a time, and just kind of push at that,
right.
and that
And
helps.
yeah, but on that, I think you're absolutely right, Martin. I think also it's an element of give yourself a break, though. No one's saying, "Oh, do this or do that," and do it within the next 4 months, or make it a goddamn New Year's resolution or anything like that. Do it in your own time. It'll come along when it comes along, or it won't when it comes along. Give yourself a break. You know, I I just personally, I've just chosen to just improve my inner dialogue on it. You know, recognize it now that I've given it a name. Okay, it's got its name. Just improve my inner dialogue about it. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
like you were saying, Martin. Oh, that's masking. Is it a toxic kind of masking? Is it kind of okay-ish masking? Is it even a cool masking? I'm totally down with it. I'm fine with it. Um, just starting that and improving that inner dialogue about what's good and what's not,
Yeah,
but without stressing about it.
right. Well, I mean, I come from it from a point of view of like, if you're worried about something about masking,
Mm.
that's why you're listening to this. There is something
Uh-huh.
there is something that you feel like you should, like, because you're getting burnt out a lot, or you're, it's you can see where it's causing you a lot of harm, then
Yeah.
sure, like jump in, and you can start to tackle it. I think one place where it's helpful, and this is probably the biggest place that I work at it from, it's if you know that the masking times are gonna drain you, then that means that, say,
Okay.
I've just come back from the UK. There's been a lot of like talking, lots of meeting people, chatting. It's been, quite physically and emotionally draining, and therefore I know that I will need time on the back end of something like that to recover, right? So if you're aware of masking, you go, right, well, I'm going to go into a heavy masking situation. I'm going to need self-care on the back of it. What I'm not going to do is book another heavy masking thing straight off of the back of it. I'm not going to kind of, do anything else that is going to further drain me. I recognize that I'm going to need some self-care time after it, so you can balance it out better, right? So that you're not heading down to that burnout place.
I would add to this though that if you like, what's really nice about unmasking is actually what you discover or uncover when you do unmask. I think it's almost always true that as you stop unmasking, you will uncover stuff that you could really surprise yourself about, hidden talents or talents you instinctively knew you always had but suppressed. Many things. There's actually a lot of joy could come out of the how can I say, it's a really positive thing to unmask. It's hard for me to think of it being anything other than positive.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I mean, as I was saying earlier, it's mostly positive. There are places and times when masking is not recommended.
Yeah.
So I think it's what you're trying to do is, like, there's some masking stuff that will work for you, and you just have to be aware of the toll that it takes, right? And then what we're saying, I think, is your entire life can't be just masking everything all the time, because you would just mentally collapse.
Think of all that wasted energy that you could use in other things.
Right. So if you can uncover and carve out more of yourself in those other times, with your partner, in your relationship, with your friends, in your free time, whatever it is, out when you're out in the normal world, it's just so much more freeing. There's a lot less energy, and then what you can do with that energy is actually look after yourself a bit better. You can do some of the things that you really like to do. You've got more healing time, more. It's
like get the monkey off your back,
right.
Or in my case, maybe start running without the ballast in your socks.
Absolutely, run without the ballast in your socks. There you go. That's a great takeaway. All right.
I've got another. Last thing based on that, a thing that I've been carrying around with for years. It's a quote by a lady called Marianna Williamson, American lady.
Oh yes.
She was actually. This was actually when Nelson Mandela came out of prison after 26 years. He quoted Marianna Williamson, and it's an amazing thing. She said, and just put it in the context of this podcast, obviously, things about masking. She said, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, or fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Nice.
Nice. Warm to cockles of your heart.
Good point.
Is
Well
that an
put.
expression? Thank you. I've always enjoyed that quote, and it's like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Okay.
I've got down Paul's summary.
That's it. That was it.
Perfect.
That was it. That was my summary.
What a perfect end to that little segment.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a deep dive.
That was the deepest I think we've done.
The deepest of the dives. Cool.
We've got a little bit of post. We've got a little post. We've got a quick trip to the post room. Luckily, it's just around the corner. And we've got a little post from, it was actually on the YouTubers. We've got Andy, the ghost hunter, that said, oh, you two could so be brothers, it says here, Martin.
Mm-hmm. I
read
that.
You. Lucky you.
Right.
Or as Kylie Minogue would say, I should be so lucky.
Do you know who Andy the ghost hunter is?
No. It's your brother.
It's my brother.
No! Oh, God. Of course it is. Oh, nice. Oh, hello, Andy.
My younger brother.
Nice.
Hello, Andy.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, he's an expert then.
Who listens to the podcast? So I'm
good man.
He is a good man and a true friend.
Good man.
And a good brother.
Okay. Excellent. All
right. Well, let's just remind everyone that the ADHDville is delivered fresh every Tuesday to all purveyors of your fine podcasts. Please subscribe to the pod and rate us most way too long.
Please.
And feel free to correspond at will. You don't have to be related to us to make comments.
No, otherwise we'll soon run out of post.
Right.
Send a pigeon if you have to. Send a pigeon. Happily
Absolutely.
receive your pigeons with little notes.
Yep. They are roast at 350 degrees for an hour and a half.
Right. Based with some real butter, probably.
Absolutely. But wait, there is more. If you want to see our beautiful faces, then sally forth to the YouTubes. And if you feel so inspired, pick up a quill and email us at ADHDville@gmail.com.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
That just remains for me to say that we're also on TikTok, YouTube, couple of friends, Facebook, Instagram. But in the meantime, just be fucking kind to yourself.
Yeah, and know thyself, son of the hounds. Come hither and get flesh.
There, says the mayor. That's that.